Yeah. Individual, the rational individual try to better off, and that may affect to negatively and positively the others. It, ultimately, though, we expected overall, not individual, overall system, overall community, overall society, overall country may not better if this system work like this. So I'll take a very simple diagram for that. For example, it's a ladder we have like this here. Now, neoclassical economics believe that if this system work, the people, the society can reach to top of this ladder. That's what we call in the economics term Pareto optimum point. What I use that concept we call economic nirvana. But though the neoclassical economics, like I took the example traffic handling on the road, it happen best way, individual behave like that, though it is expect as a society, since it's negatively affect to the some others without getting involved them, though we expected society reach to this point, unfortunately, due to those reasons, society reality is the second point of this ladder. At the second point of this ladder, here, not the top. That is the reality. Though neoclassical economics expect and believe society stay in the top. That cases that happen what we call the market failure. Market failure. Now the traffic jam also you can see the individual rational try to optimize it. Ultimately, if you observe properly, these 2 weeks you observe, next 2 weeks, either let's say some a big junction, maybe mess up. All the individual try to optimize individually. Same thing happen ultimately as a society, everyone not get into the economic nirvana point, they fall down, they drop down to the second point. Now, due to this reason, now like a traffic jam in those junction, the police officer look after, police officer handle, similar to the kind of police officer, the economic system also another institution build, that's what we call government. The government again quite similar to the traffic example, police officer. The government role now you see the policymakers here or politicians here, I don't know. The government role now is very simple. Take those people, the society from the second point, bring them back to the optimal point, economic nirvana point. That is the role of the government. Very clear. Like police role, is observe, not in the mobile, stay in the mobile and observe properly and look at the traffic and handle properly. The government role also very clear. Intervenes here, this is the invitation comes to the government. Government has to understand this market failure. Government have to study the market failure. Government have to observe the market failure, correct it. So that kind of policy is what we call second best policy. Last week I introduced second best policy. So in that case, the government has to introduce, in case of market failure, second best policy. For that, you see the economy, we have the two type of policies. micro policies and macro policies. Before I come to that point, of course, the last week I introduced, before I come to that point, here I will explain what is the different way we learn microeconomics and macroeconomics. Even before that, now if you understand this system, now we have this system, three institutions: household, firms, and the government. Household has resources, the firm produce, but the government is doing nothing, just intervention and has a government role. We will see later on, like I said, government role is to correct this market failure, introducing second best policy. That is the government role. Now, the macroeconomics mean study the system, not individual. Microeconomics, what we do, take the individual components of the system. Like, let's imagine you are going to get married. You can look at your husband, girlfriend or boyfriend as a whole picture. That is the macro, economic situation. And you can look at the girl or boy individual component, not only the body part and other behavior and things. That is the microeconomic. That take time. That is a little bit hard exercise. A little bit hard exercise. So here the microeconomics, what you do in that case, with me this semester, we study each component. For example, household, individual behavior, consumer theory, firms, individual behavior, theory of production, demand and supply, the factor markets, individual partial equilibrium analysis. Market, individual factors, behavior, and this channel individually study. So whatever the system, individually, each and every corner, the microeconomics we study. The macroeconomics, what you do, look at the overall picture and study. They are not take the individual firm as a holistic way. They are not look at the individual market, they are looking at the aggregate market, aggregate demand, aggregate supply. You might already learn those things. And not the price, they study as a inflation, not the output, they study as the unemployment, employment. Cutting those channels, they study GDP, for example here, GDP expenditure way, GDP quantity measure, and GDP income way. That's what the macroeconomics do. Now you can see the difference between the microeconomics and macroeconomics. Now, as I mentioned, both ways you can study where the how the market failure happen. Where the market failures there, another institution comes. I already introduced that as a government. Government, the jobs, government role is to correct the market failure. For that, the government does not produce, government does not earn money, government does not have resources. For that, the government take resources from the system. That is the thing. Government impose tax to each market, firm, individual, all the ways everywhere, government take money from you. Now, look at it. Per day, in the system, your hard work, like and our story, 5 billion. Now government take, in Sri Lankan case, of course, if you take the tax rate, government take about 3 billion. You see, when you earn 5 billion, government take 3 billion. Now you don't have money, you have only 2 billion to enjoy. How bad? How bad? Now this 3 billion taking government supposed to give back, addressing the market failure, something to the society. Give back something to the society. I think everyone of you understand it has to be if the system better off. System better off, government should provide more than 3 billion. The government has to inject to the system more than 3 billion, otherwise, without government is better. Now you look at the Sri Lankan government last 80 years, really it's happened. Either in terms of it developing infrastructure, in terms of making the environment friendly, environment in the business environment, macroeconomics friendly way, and the ways. Inject system has to be more than 3 billion in the government. It not happen, what we call government failure. When the government fail, what happened? The society from the second point of the ladder, they drop further. Third level, fourth level, like that, fifth and sixth level, and the ground level. And what I see, my analysis in Sri Lankan society, due to series of government failures, Sri Lankan society right now live in the underground. Underground. You will really see if you talk to 10 people, 6 people try to migrate to USA, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, or any other country, they try. Which means they already underground and begin find the USA, and then we live in underground. Now, due to double failure, there's among the double failure, government failure is the worst case. That's why Sri Lankan society is underground right now. Now, when we come to the policy, if only market failure, government has to introduce the second best policy. But when the market failure happens, the society is in the third position. Second best policy alone does not work. If you are in third or fourth position, instead of identify the situation, instead of introduce the policies, what we call fourth best policy, if we still introduce, that's what exactly happened to Sri Lankan government. If we still introduce second best policy at this point, again the failure happened and we drop into the ground level and this happens. If the society is in the underground, we need the policies, what we call underground policy, not the second best policy. Bring the level, then introduce the second best policy. I will explain this another way. Now, the second best policy, like, is clear. I will later on also bring it back. Whatever the things happen to failure the system, what we call market failure, there are several reasons for that. So correct those failure, introduce policies, what we call second best policy. Those are the policies, what we call here, we need to introduce. Now, again, back to the policies, we learn difference between macroeconomics and microeconomics. There are policies also, some policies, what we call macroeconomics policies, some policies, what we can call microeconomics policy. The macroeconomics policy, what we do through macroeconomics policy or strategies inject to the system. Inject to the system. Like our Ayurvedic medicine, one thing happened, they inject the medicine to the system. But the Western, they identify the particular place issues happen, they cut it and fix it. The microeconomics policy like that. It identify the particular places issues there, cut it and fix it. So that is the difference between the macroeconomics policies and microeconomics policies. Now, there are two types of macroeconomics policies. Some of you may work there. Central bank, monetary policy. Treasury, fiscal policy. Now, the fiscal policy and like treasury, central bank, interest rate, money printing, treasury, tax, and the expenditure, those policies introduced to the system. Now, some of the expenditure policies in the treasury may be specific industry way, but still they supposed to inject to the system. Now, these kind of policies quite efficient because we don't need to worry about, you don't need to deal with, you don't need to spend time to study each and every component, just inject. So quite efficient. For example, let's say the water line. If you have a water line like here, now the macroeconomics policy, let's say 100 liter water you drop here. It's supposed to reach the system also 100 liters and absorb to the system. That's the macroeconomics. You see, very clear, very one point central bank can do that. Now, for example, central bank increase or decrease interest rate. So supposed to absorb the system and get in better off. When the central bank print money also, that's assumption there. And the government introduced the tax also, that's assumption there. But the problem here, country like Sri Lanka, especially other countries also, but Sri Lanka is special case, the system has so many leakages. The water line here, so many hole, and the leakages there. Due to these leakages, at the end, those macroeconomic policies, macroeconomic strategies reach the system maybe around 10%. 10 liters, when you put 100 liters, system get and absorb only 10 liters. 10 liters. That is the case, the macroeconomic policy. This system has leakages. Now, what are the leakages? Mainly the economic stuff. Now, if you look at, I have done a study in Sri Lanka, 62 to 67% economic activities are informal. The informal is the failure. Informal is the leakages. So if this informality there, when the central bank or treasury change the interest rate or taxation, this informal sector, informal firm, they don't need to answer. They don't need to listen. Now, for example, nowadays you see the government introduce a very huge amount of tax. It's so much burden. But the informal businesses, they may use the different strategy. They may change their firms' behavior strategies. There's no need to answer. Of course, not. They don't answer. They don't react. And also in Sri Lanka, about 13-15% economic activities are illegal. Either drugs, either commission, either mafia. This kind of money also, this kind of transaction also not go through the system. So now you count, you see altogether about 87% of the economic activities either illegal or informal, country like Sri Lanka. Which means when you put 100 liters or 100%, system only absorb 13%. That is the problem. Though our central bank or treasury, they say, I don't know nowadays, maybe they are not the best people also. That's another issue. They say they introduce the best policies and if system does not absorb, system does not work, it's actually. That is the problem with the macroeconomic policy. Though it's efficient, it's not effective. But the microeconomics policy, what they do, identify the loophole, identify the root causes of the each and every corner or channel of the system. Where is the defect happen? Identify, for example, let's say the industrial sector. Identify what industry has the issue, what firms have the issue, what are the market issues. Identify this system, whatever, wherever necessary, like a medicine, Western medicine. Quite time. It's not efficient, but effective in that. Because for example, let's say patches here, microeconomists identify this patch and fix it. So effective. That is the difference between the macroeconomics policies and microeconomics policy. One of the best thing, industrial policy. Of course, the nowadays our industrial ministry is not doing perfectly, because now when we are living in fifth industrial revolution, we have to target the sunrise industries, not the sunset industry. But our industrial ministry focus is still sunset industries. So not the AI, not the IT, not the knowledge-based industry. So in that case, we are not fishing properly. We are still problem with the identification of the proper patch proper leakages. If you wrongly identify linkages, we fix it wrongly also. So when you do macroeconomic policy wrong way, society fall down. That's what we call due to market failure. We will learn at the end what are the reasons for market failure, how government introduce role to address the market failure. Those things we will learn. Here, I try to explain only whole system, whole thing as all, and difference between the macroeconomics and microeconomics. So with that, I will move to the lesson today to study, identify those 10 principles. First 4 principles related to how individual, you and me individually take the decision, how it's we knowing, no unknowing, this principle work when you make the decision. First principle say, people face trade-off. People face trade-off. For example, let's say the exam time, before the exam night, if you have a party, somebody's birthday, or your girlfriend or boyfriend at least, or someone, going there, you have less time to study. So trade-off. So then you have to think, this happened, like from the beginning I explained, limited resources and unlimited want scenario. Now, for example, let's say working in the leisure time. Now, look at when you work hard, like my story, grasshopper and ants, and work hard is a compensation and does not have much time for leisure, like a grasshopper. Then the policymakers has to look at that point, that principle. But unfortunately, in Sri Lankan policymakers looking at the reverse way. When the ants work hard, our policymakers punish ants. That is a discouragement. Then they definitely stop somewhere that, I don't know whether you read our article, the optimal level of taxation. Above that, people look in leisure time. In that way, overall, the economy growth drop down. That exactly happens Sri Lankan economy right now compared to the other countries. Though the GDP per capita income increase, our growth rate and the acceleration is lower than the other countries. So the second principle, which linked to the first principle, with basically due to this trade-off, and the limited resources and unlimited one, we face the opportunity cost. I directly use the word because everybody knows that the opportunity cost. Whatever the action you take, you have an opportunity cost. For example, since you are in this class right now, these 2 hours you can't do some other thing and earn money. You can spend with your girlfriend or boyfriend also, that opportunity cost. But of course, the Zoom meeting, most probably you do so, because though you are here, something you same time cooking, doing other thing also may happen. That's the best thing is the new technology. Kind of against this principle, we can use the new technology. 2 things you can do together with the video new. If not the show meeting, if you have to go to the classroom and the University of Colombo Department of Economics, let's say room number 42, then you have to stay there, listen, no other option. But with the new technology, use the policymakers have to look at. With the new technology, even the AI, now this is against this kind of opportunity cost principle. Now, opportunity cost mean whatever you do, you have to get rid of some other things, selecting the other best thing, what we call opportunity cost. Now, this time, if you rank thing, stay in the class, let's say, come person. Second, let's say, doing somewhere in the job and earn money, that opportunity cost is stay in the class, what you earn there. So that's why maybe the less number of students here, because they feel that the other option is better than they stay in the class, because you maybe student feel that even coming to or not coming to class, they can pass the exam. It's not much opportunity cost. Maybe this period they do some other thing. So that's maybe the reason why less number of. If last week, if, for example, this Sunday class, since I gave you exercise and the group presentation, high number of students came. That high opportunity cost, because if you don't come to the class and make the presentation, you lost some marks. You see. Yeah. So we did the opportunity cost, and its third principle, maybe sometime the general and the day-to-day life, you may not understand, you don't see this principle. It's a rational people think at margin. Every day you are doing, though you don't understand, when you make the decision as a rational individual, take the decision taking the marginal concept. Now, for example, whether you are doing the master's or not, you analyze doing master's, what you get the additional benefit. So that's the marginal concept, the one rational people use, make the decision or take the decision. So that's why when you study macro, micro, whatever, marginal profit, marginal revenue, marginal utility concept are the one we take to analyze. So that's how this comes. The fourth principle that is very interesting, and our policymakers really has to look at. And if you go back to the ants and grasshopper story, you can see the policymakers really adapt this one. Rational people respond to incentives. For example, you work hard. If you get, when you work, for example, 8 hours to 9th hour, additional amount if you get, you work. Otherwise, because according to labor law, maybe 8 hours, But our policymakers doing the opposite. When you work hard, they punish you and get more tax. For example, if you work, earn a certain amount, the tax rate is to 26, and if you earn more, just jump into the 36. So in that way, the discouragement or disutility or disincentive to work. So you can see our policymakers has to understand. When the ants work hard, you punish ant and get money and give back to the grasshopper who always enjoy. Same thing happen. Our society taking this money Now, I think 2-3 weeks, the government increased the Aswashuma money, 25,000. That is incentive to those people who get the Aswashuma not to work. Now we see the contradiction. Our policymakers. They punish those who work and get and give back to the people who don't work and as an incentive. You see that what happened to the economic growth in that? You can see any economic growth because the government give an incentive to not to work. When they increase, for example, Aksasuma 5,000 to 25,000, that exactly happens. People feel that not to work. Otherwise, they don't get the asset. Other side, when they increase the tax such a way, 12%, 26, and when we work hard, that is the punishment, which means government say, don't work. If you can't work before 8 hours, now 10 hours, now say government, yeah, better stop 8 hours. In that way, you have get more leisure time, that is the opportunity cost, and satisfy. But ultimately, the whole society, overall economic growth, if we look at, later on you can see some principle there, is the economy drop down, economy break. So I don't know why our policymakers doesn't. I have written so many articles and the books also. Now, except one country, Nigeria, government increased the direct tax 1%. The economic growth in the different countries, different percentage. For example, in Sri Lanka, its economic growth reduced by, if I remember, if you can read the article, my article, about 0.97. In the European economy, if the direct tax reduced 1%, the economic growth increased by 0.37. Employment growth increased by 0.57. That's the European country. Except Nigeria, all the other countries like that. But Sri Lankan policymakers doing opposite. I don't know why. The Nigeria case is special because most of the companies belong to USA, and that kind of a tax system must be different. Except Nigeria, all the other countries like that. So you can see this is the very important principle, understand by the policymakers and the other individual also. Now, when they increase the petrol price, when they increase the cigarette price, is supposed to reduce the smoking. So the tax system has to use incentive subsidies, has to use to encourage the economic activity. But in Sri Lanka, this system used to two things. One thing is to get money to the treasury, whatever the dead body, and satisfy the people who don't work, the so-called poor people. Why? Because those are the vote base in the government. This is the vote base of the government. They are the one who help also post train, three-wheeling, go to meeting and things. So the government need that. Other thing, the government need tax money to distribute to them. Now, next principle related to how the people interact in the society. Now, that principle number 5 comes. It says that trade can make everyone better off. Now, if I'll take the small diagram here, maybe some of you still not familiar, some of you familiar. So this diagram, what I draw here, what we call production possibility frontier. Production possibility frontier. I will teach you later on, and most probably in the international trade, if you start, you already learn. So this reflects the given time, the particular economic country, the level of production, given resources, given technology. More than this, you can't exceed, this is the boundary. For example, if you put A here, given time, given resources, and given technology, the economy can't expand more than this. Inside, if you produce, for example, B, that is what we call inefficiency. And that exactly happened country like Sri Lanka. Though we can reach to point A, we produce point B. Now, forget about the inefficiency component. Now, let's say the economy has the full efficiency, and without trade, the economy can reach, society can reach only on the line somewhere. That depends on the price ratio on the line somewhere. Let's say the domestic price ratio is something like that. This is the domestic price ratio. Let's say the goods here X or capital good. Here the consumption good. Let's say the good Y is the price X or price Y. Is the domestic price ratio decide the. So there we can see the welfare level of the society. For that, I draw another curve that what we call, I will teach you later on how we'll get it. But now let's say that curve, what we call community indifference curve. Community indifference curve that reflects the welfare level. So that is the welfare level. Optimal level you can reach to W0 and the producing and consuming point A. Now, when you deal with the trade, this domestic price ratio change, let's say it's become a price ratio become world price ratio, two goods, international market price. Now with the trade, what happened right now, you produce not point A, you produce point C here. You can see that either you produce A or C, same technology, same resources, same amount. Only the transfer, one point to the other point. No additional resources, no additional technology. So same. But you can see government can take the society higher level of welfare level, W1. W1 is in terms of welfare higher than the W2. So society now enjoy the welfare level at the point E. Point E. You can see the magic of the trade. Without additional resources, without additional technology. Now, what happened when you do trade, of course, with this second stage, the production possibility frontier also shift. That is the dynamic analysis. And again, the will also improve. You can see the development happen. But here, I try to show you using the general equilibrium analysis and the macro level picture, trade can better off everyone in the society. Using partial analysis, you can read the book Mankiw, what I suggest the reference. They are chapter number 5, if I remember. This explained using the partial analysis, using demand and supply curve very well. You can read it also to understand there how trade make everyone better off. Everyone better off. So I don't introduce right now here because they are to understand, we need to understand new concept like dead weight loss and those kind of thing. Later, maybe after 2-3 weeks, I'll come back here and introduce that chapter. And there you can see using the partial analysis, how trade can make everyone better off. Now here, what happened when you do with the trade, according to Adam Smith, David Ricardo, Marshall, the specialization also happened. Division of labor also happened according to David Ricardo. With that specialization and the division of labor, the production possibility probably also expand, which means gradually the same, let's say, world market price ratio and the welfare also improve. You can see it how lead, how generate economic growth and the welfare. So ultimately, this principle is very important. Countries also benefit with that overall, and the individual also benefit with the trade. Principle number 6, when you people make the transaction each other, it says the market are the usually good way to organize economic activity. What to produce, how to produce, where to produce, and whom to produce. This kind of make the decision. Starting point, the best way in the market. But here also you look at Sri Lankan economy, we do reverse way. Our policymakers believe the government is the best usually way. That is the wrong. Government let the market give the gear engine and then the government intervenes later. That's the principle. Now, if you look at the next principle, principle number 7, you can see the how it goes. But the Sri Lankan government, what we do, bring the 7 principle person that we say the government is the usually good way, the market led second way. Government try to handle everything. So that's why another reason what we always pale. So this principle clearly say the markets are the usually good way to organize economic activity. What to produce, how much to produce, whom get this. So in that way, the government go with the new technology as well. Now you see this Japan and these countries. Now the farmers, they use the AI technology directly to the farm garden. They know where is the market and accordingly they change the production and things happen. So we try to always engage the AI right now. If you look at the Colombo University recently introduced the AI policy. What they try to say, if you are a student, you try to block using AI. It's not the way what you have to do university. University has to think of some further step to AI. Take the leadership. But the university doing opposite right now. So if the market, individual universities and the market system universities, now for example, if you say the USA universities, now they maybe think, or even the Chinese university, some advanced in the AI, even not using AI, they think in the next steps. So our system, the government, UGC try to control it. So they take this principle against this principle. Other market activities also say how to produce, what to produce, and the government try to control. That's why our economy always fail. Because try to against this universal some of the principle. Now according to Adam Smith, like I mentioned several times, gives signal to the market what to produce, whom to produce, how much produce. It with invisible hand. With that, everybody better off. Everybody better off. In that way, like I explained before, society, the people reach the economic nirvana point or Pareto optimal point. This point. This point. The market system with the invisible hand, society reached to that point. But like I explained before, somehow the universal concept system fail, society fall down. The second point of this lab. Because of button failure invite government. Now you can see these are the failure. This picture I took from Samya Borrell. You can see the market system work. In the public road, they use to as a business. So in that way, the society as a overall macro level, they don't get the benefit. If you do the economic analysis, this kind of SMEs I have done, the financial analysis, these individual owners, they better off. Overall, our economy, due to this SME system, what we work, get the negative effect. Because the wrong way our SMEs handle SMEs work. Now, this is the market failure. So this is the thing. Secondly, government can look at those failures and intervention. That principle number 7 comes. Government can sometimes improve the market outcome. Properly intervention, for example, here, properly intervention, like I took the example from the traffic, the road. If the police officer properly intervene, it depends on the police officers capacity and efficiency. In the outcome, better traffic, you can see. Same thing, the government capacity, government efficiency, you may get the better outcome. Otherwise, the government failure happen, society, like I explained before, society drop further. Sorry. Sorry. Yeah, like I explained before, the market system bring the society in the top of the economic nirvana and drop here the market failure. If the government failure happen, government officials, government is inefficient, not capable, and the society drop further down and come to the underground, even the digging and live in the underground. So though this principle say like that, government can improve the result. Now you can see those countries, some countries, government improve the result. If you visit the Belgium, you can see such a situation. Now, look at the individual in the market system in Sri Lanka, for example, some of the student Morato University, they introduced the three-wheelers like that. So the government can't see it take because the government maybe listen to India or Japan or China because they get in the commission, they get in the system. Those not these kind of simple individual within the country, government policy makers somewhere else. It's something like here. It's a market failure happen. Government can improve the outcome. Like I explained before, always within the neoclassical economic system, the market failure happen. So here we try to quickly introduce the reason for market failure. So those are the reason, invitation for the government. Government intervenes to the system because of this market failure. Now here quickly we try to identify the reason for market failure. Later this semester we will in detail we study those reasons. One of the reason what we call externality. One of the reason what we call externality. Its externality happen can we have the different word also we call neighborhood effect, spillover effect. Those other terms also we use. And it can be when you consume externality happen. When you produce externality happen. Either the consumption externality or production externality. Or externality can be negative or positive, both. Whatever the positive or negative externality, whatever the consumption or production externality, is the reason for market failure. For example, let's say you producer, you are individual producer, rational individual producer, produce cement. You have a cement factory. Here the river, what you do, your garbage water dump into the nearby river. In that way, you can optimize your profit. Rather clean water, you just dump here. That is the rational producer what you do. For example, you drug dealer. Selling drug to the society, that's the best way, and you can improve your profit. But the thing, since you dump your dirty water, polluted water, the river, they live in the community in the here, the economic livelihood depend on the river water, the other water, drinking and thing, all, they have to either clean the water, for that they have to spend money. For example, the fisheries community there, economic downturn happen, negatively affect to their health. Though this producer, cement factory owner enjoy profit, the society overall suffer. That is what we call negative production externality. Consumption externality also happen if you go private bus. So this loud music may be trouble for you, though some drivers and the conductor they enjoy. And the positive externality is also there. For example, imagine two neighbors, let's say neighbor X and Y. Neighbor X has spent some money and have a beautiful flower garden. Neighbor Y has a bee farm. So these bees goes to the flower garden, take nectar and make bee honey. Why earn good enough money selling bee honey? But nothing only expend by X, no revenue in that. That is the positive externality because this due to flower garden. That also harm to the system. That also happen market failure. That also happen market failure because the price here decide to be farmer. Real opportunity is not real social opportunity cost price. This individual opportunity cost only small here decide the price. For example, $5 liter. But the society, others expend money for that. If you take those expenditure, real bottle of bee honey, not $5, it can be $8. So that you can see that destroy the market. That happened the market failure. We will take this later on and discuss in detail, and some policies also we discuss. So the government role here, like I explained before, address, identify the externalities, address the externality. So that is the very simple role. So maybe introduce the pollution tax, introduce some kind of incentives, or those different policies there. Policymakers first has to identify. Another reason for market failure, if I use the simple word, monopoly kind of a market situation. We will learn later on how the monopoly create the different pricing, monopoly price, that create not the best choice economic nirvana situation and create the market failure. That create the market failure. So we will learn later on what kind of policies, how the policymakers identify, how create a better off, and what the government intervention here. Another type of reasons for market failure we call public goods. Public good. Like for example, national defense, it's kind of a semi-public good, public roads, those kind of things. Now the scenario is the public good case due to some characteristic, basically two characteristics. Anyone can consume public goods without pay. You and me or anyone can enjoy the public good. For example, if you go to national park to clean air, you enjoy, but you don't need to pay. The price is zero. Now what happened? The price is zero, revenue also becomes zero. Because the revenue, how do you get? P into Q. If the P is zero, this R becomes zero. Our revenue becomes zero. It's not, the worst case is, since the revenue becomes zero, profit becomes negative. Because you have to spend some money to build public goods, maintain public goods. Then the profit becomes negative. Now, our system, the producers, their incentive, they engage in the production, the profit. Wherever negative profit the producer get, they move to another industry. In that case, imagine only the system work, market work, no public good at all. No public good at all. No national defense, no clean air, no public road, no public park, no nice environment. So that is what we call market. But the public goods, not only the producer, consumer also equally important. For consumer also equally important. Without public goods, society never grow. Economy never grow. Production possibility frontier never move this way. So that is, in that case, you can see the public goods very essential any society. So then the government has a role to develop, to produce public goods. There are so many ways to do that. And that's the one of the role government. Using that role, government become corrupted, government become rent-seeking behavior, government take so much tax and those things. Taking tax in producing efficiency, quality public goods, fine. For example, taking that if the government provide the good quality internet facility, low price internet facility, good quality electricity, good quality water, low price water, AI facilities, and then the economy move. That's the things what the government right need, country right need. But the government right now doing something else. They open the sugar factory, sugar shops, and I mean these are sunset industry. They are doing the maybe building the public toilet, but these are not the fourth, fifth industrial revolution economics need. So not properly identify required public good, not producing, taking huge amount of tax. That is the failure. So that failure, what we call government failure. Another reason for market failure, what we call, this word is wrong, it has to be asymmetric information. Asymmetric information. Wherever the asymmetric information happen, price mechanism not work properly. For example, if you want to buy a used car, the buyer, as a buyer, when you go there, you know little about the car. But the seller, you know little bit more. For example, if seller knows 60% about the car, as a buyer, when you go, you know about 20%. This different, what we call asymmetric information, create a better choice for the seller. And in that case, society never reached the economic nirvana, drop down, and the market failure happen. Then the government has a role. Our policymakers, if you are here, think of, in case of asymmetric information, you really understand, for example, the banking sector, the asymmetric information. So the policymakers use this additional information. Now, past few months, you saw that several allegations happen. Some bank fail. Even the treasury transaction, something happened. So because as the policy level, policymakers has the more information, they got this rent-seeking behavior. They did this kind of some kind of I don't know, things happen 2.5 billion things, and some bank 13 point something. This may happen because of a domestic information scenario one hand. So in that case, the government intervention required. So for that, the banking sector, central bank has a role, monitor, supervise the bank. Central bank role is not working properly. This kind of thing happen in the banking sector. Central bank can't move away from that kind of allegation. But the central bank is for that. That is the policy, that is the address to market failure. So that kind of micro policies fail central bank, the banking sector fail. Central bank think of macro, like change in interest rate, printing money, always not work. So this thing create the market failure. Wherever the market failure happen, it's invitation for the government role there. So this is the thing, and policies can use to get the better pie and is help to the society, bring the society, bring the people the better level. So this is the principle number 7. Now look at what really happened in Sri Lankan society. This government design thing. Failure spending money unnecessary. Because this is the market behavior. Our policymakers read wrongly and design wrongly. Only thing is cost to the society. Taking treasury money and the taxpayers' money. And here you can see, even they try to, we need this generation, this kind of infrastructure facilities. You remember what happened in Sri Lankan case and why it went to Bangladesh. So this market failure happened, though the principle 7, in that case, doesn't work. Because our government, our policymakers was reverse way. Now the last 3 principle uh, is related to the how the economy work as all. So that principle number 8 comes that say even not only the country, individual. If you work hard, if you earn more, you have a better life. That I think you believe individually. I believe individually. But the thing is now in Sri Lanka, if you work hard, government punish you in that way, you are not better off. Then you definitely like to move, not work and get in Aswasuma and enjoy that life. That is the thing happen in the society because the policymakers are on there that the market failure happen then against this principle as well. Now, as a country also, for example, if the production possibility frontier here, if without efficiency, without international trade, for example, you can reach the welfare level W0. W0. If you want to reach somewhere in the W, let's say W in level, welfare level, what the economy, the policymakers has to do, shift this production possibility frontier and to come to this level. The policies needs to shift this production possibility frontier and reach to point E. So that is the policymakers has to target. But the last 80 years, Sri Lankan policymakers, what they did, reality they produce somewhere point B because due to inefficiency, they try to enjoy the society point E level without shifting the production possibility frontier to E level, they try to fill this gap. That our policymakers these last 80 years, right now also they're doing same thing. Now it seems to be the worst case. Now how they did just after independence to fill this gap, our policymakers used what the British left surplus. Using surplus, you see the 1940, 1950, enjoy the surplus and we had the welfare level of high, world standard welfare level, enjoy the surplus. After surplus finished, since we were less developed country, so poor country, we got so much donation, international donation. Using this donation money, we enjoy the same level because we did not feel that our own water we collect because we use somebody else money, hard earning money, and we enjoy. It's like same thing applied to the Aswasuma people also. They don't earn money, they enjoy, they like it. And there's encouragement. And the same thing as a whole country also it happened to you because somebody in British or USA people earn money, they give as donation. We enjoy this kind of welfare. We say our welfare level is equal to Japan. We said our welfare level equal to USA. We enjoy like that. Life standard and living life expectation and this kind of thing. Now in 1990, 1980 later, that also say that our uh, data, we reached to middle income level, middle income. Then we got the middle income trap. With the middle income trap also, we try to enjoy the same level of high standard welfare or living standard using now middle income level, we don't get the donation, only loan. Using especially high expensive credit line from China, we enjoy the same welfare level without investing money for productivity purpose, production or productivity purpose. So we enjoy. So when you return money, that's because the donation we did not return and the surplus did not, but taking loan money we had to return. In 2022, 2021, we got the problem we call economic crisis. We couldn't return the money. Now they invite IMF. IMF came. IMF doesn't know our culture and our people also, policymakers. If you listen to them, for example, I remember some time back, governor at the TV interview say that we can't do IMF say, but only accept their condition and think their money. So whatever way, taking IMF money right now, we do the same thing. Another thing happened, and government increase tax. Now I don't know whether you know or not. Your level you will pay direct and indirect tax together over 72%. Paying this highest amount of tax. Now let's say you work here somewhere, you contribute to the economy somewhere here. If you don't pay the tax, you can enjoy the welfare like somewhere here. Since you pay the tax, you can enjoy only the welfare somewhere little but here. Now you can see, but our policymakers try to reach to welfare somewhere here. So they enjoy the policymakers and politicians, and since they get the vote and those who don't work, they give money as customer. Their welfare, the people who work, they right now better off than those who work, you and me right now, like the grasshopper. Now, now you can see the contradiction. Those who work in people welfare level is somewhere below compared to those who don't work. If you add their welfare to the leisure time also. If you don't understand, let's imagine if someone, your friend's funeral happen, those people, they go there, enjoy, even the wedding happen 1 week or 2 week without any problem because whatever they do, they get access. But if you go there, even your good friend's wedding, you can spend only 1 or 2 hours because you have to come back and work hard like ants. If you add those lesser time, definitely your social welfare around less than that one. You see the contradictions of the policymakers against many of the principle, including principle number 8. Principle number 8. Better life, better society, we have to work hard together and go there. But now in our country, if you try to get that principle, government punish you and your welfare drop down continuously. So that the thing happened against the principle number 8 also. Now, we need the policy to improve the productivity, like I mentioned before, and production possibility frontier according to reach the welfare level that exactly policymakers have to think. If the policymakers say at least think right now that level. So what are the policies? These things we can have a discussion later on and do later on. So our government also, you can see, behave like this. For example, taking 150 banana, they give 100. They enjoy the people like and they vote it. That exactly happen. But the government should be like an entrepreneur, create the value addition and the economy expansion happen, selling the $5, no harm. not like a business people also. Without value added, same banana they sell higher price. That is not economic development also. Many of our SMEs, our businesses, like businessmen, not entrepreneurs. The government policy makers, government politicians also not entrepreneurs. They like a what machine. They try to get what and this way. So that is the problem that where we have to think of. Principle number 9 is say the prices rise, which means the inflation create when government print, central bank print money. I think you are the real witnesses. You saw that what happened Sri Lanka, what happened crisis. Still central bank opposed printing so much money, but this money printing happened without chip production possibility frontier. That is the worst. That is the worst. So not the production, the money printing try to increase the GDP. That's the problem. That create the inflation. So the result will become inflation. Now, if you imagine, Ramya, when you were born, go to supermarket, go to market, you can buy full of card. Now, 2005, maybe half of it. 2013, very little. Now, if you go to supermarket, even not the shopping bag, you carry your hand, those things, spend $20. Even no need even the sleeping bag also. So you can see how inflation, those central banks say no inflation. So that is the problem with our economy. Now, last principle, society pays short-term trade-off between inflation and unemployment. When the inflation increase, unemployment supposed to go down. But it did not happen. This principle of Sri Lanka also, because the 2023, this figure, inflation to 123 also reached, but unemployment also increased. So again, the principle, why? Because our policymakers always act against the other, all the principle. Even the short run, this principle did not work in Sri Lanka. So reason, we work against most of the other, I say all of the other principles also. So understanding principle in that case, very important. So when you make the policies, when you understand the other thing, when you try to do something. This is the last point what I want to share with you. This is the exercise next week you are going to do. You are going to present next week. So prepare for next week presentation. I already WhatsApp you. You have this handout, the last slide. And here what you have to do, your group, the first stage, of course, you have done already. You have a group, 4 or 5 members. Select one topic from here, that's what you call scenario 1. Select similar topic within your group, not include here in this 8 list. Another topic, your own discussion group. Then aligns with the principle what we discuss, at least try to do 5 principle each. For example, let's say you select the topic number 2, government control economy and economic development. Have a presentation aligned with this principle. 5-minute presentation, I give maximum 5 minutes each group. No need to go, everybody make the presentation. I give the equal mark, but the answering question and participation, I give some kind of different marks at the end. So that is the exercise based on these things, what you do. Another exercise, don't need to do right now, but when you travel, when you go out, carefully look at how the traffic behave, how the traffic police behave on the road. Study that one. Try to connect with the things what I discussed, the economic system, government role. Here the police officer really similar to the government. The system naturally work similar to the economic system, the market system. I need from you later on, I'll give a discussion and the presentation. Better than the government, better than the police, may you suggest a better system to work better way, not the market failure, not the government failure, to address those 2 things. Linked to this traffic behavior, to the market economy, to the economy what we learn, give us some suggestion. Like right now we are in the AI world, better than AI, something, better than market, better than police officer. So that one come later on, but this is the next presentation, this one. If you have any question, any clarification related to this, you can ask right now. Otherwise, we can stop at this point, this lecture. If you have any questions, anything, you can ask, especially this exercise related to, yeah. You can use the AI, but better, in addition to AI, include your blood and flesh all there and show me the improvement, what you get the AI and improvement also show me. But definitely use the AI. Anyone, if you have question, because you have question? Okay. If you don't have question, then we'll stop this point.
Sir,
Yeah.
like in this scenario, like you have given 8 scenarios, so we can choose one scenario from this, and we have to develop one scenario on our own, right?
Scenario in the yeah, what kind of this is 8? What you have your own. It's very simple scenario, simple problem. You select, you design, and you do. What I'm going to do the final exam. This one of this and whatever your group giving things put into the exam paper and going the same kind of question.
Okay.
You are the one who prepare the question paper also final exam in that way.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Any other question? Or input, any other discussion? Okay. Then I'll stop this point. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. And next week, I'm expecting your presentation and see your voice also. Thank you very much and bye-bye.